This story illustrates the sickening reality of the destruction of free speech in the United Kingdom. Connie Shaw, university student at the University of Leeds, was suspended from a radio show for expressing gender-critical views in a post and in a podcast. I'll come back to that in a moment. Now, this illustrates far better than any other why we need independent groups and independent people such as Free Speech Union. Please do go and join them. This is not sponsored, but go and join them if you value free speech. And humbly, I suggest me being independent here on YouTube to share with you the truth about what's going on, the law and what it means, and to stand up for you and to protect you and your individual rights. So to that end, if you would do me the favor of subscribing, I am independent and I depend on you to subscribe and to help to grow my channel. I'm aiming for 1 million subscribers. In my head, I see that as helping at least 1 million people in some small way or another. So I'll be really grateful if you do that. So let's get into this story. I'm grateful to Free Speech Union for referencing this article here and to the Telegraph. Do subscribe to the Telegraph as well. Again, not sponsored. I support the media here. But Connie Shaw, 20 years old, suspended from this radio show, which, as it happens, won Best Student Station of the Year at the Student Radio Awards last month for the second year running. And she oversees the Women's Hour and LGBTQ plus hour as part of her LSR studies. However, she was handed a notice of suspension on the 30th of October after a complaint was raised with Leeds Student Radio about her social media activity. Her alleged crime here was writing a post for a gender-critical campaigner and hosting a prominent detransitioner on her own personal podcast. Instead of being supportive of her efforts to grow social media and grow her presence online, etc., as really I'm doing here as a barrister, instead of supporting that, they suspended her from the radio committee because they say that it brought the station into disrepute and it violated its values, ethos and expectations and failed to uphold a duty of care to all society members. Now, just as an aside for a moment, you may be familiar with the Mayor Forstater case. In short, the conclusion of all that was gender-critical beliefs have the same legal protection as religious beliefs, environmental, ethical veganism and other philosophical beliefs under the Equality Act 2010. Meaning, if someone is treated less favourably, which is either directly or indirectly related to one of these protected characteristics, including philosophical beliefs, which includes, since that case, gender-critical beliefs, that is discriminatory, which is unlawful. And so, to that end, Free Speech Union, and I say again, if you value free speech, I have joined as a member, as a gold member. I encourage you to join, and I've not been asked in any way to make these videos at all. They've not asked me to do this. They've not asked me to recommend them to you. I'm doing that because I genuinely believe that what they are doing is for the greater good for free speech of you independently. So tell them I said hi. But to that end, Free Speech Union has now warned Leeds University of a potential legal action. In the letter, they pointed out that the institution's treatment of their member amounts to direct discrimination under the Equality Act 2010, which counts gender-critical beliefs as protected beliefs. They're also appealing the student union decision on her behalf and have promised to support her if she lodges a discrimination claim. Connie Shaw said in a statement, "It is ironic that Leeds Student Radio promoted a freedom of speech event, the Battle of Ideas, as a result of being given media passes to attend and then have, in my opinion, removed me from my position due to the interviews I conducted at that event, and more generally for expressing my legal right to freedom of speech." A student union spokesperson said, "Inclusivity is one of our core values, helping to ensure that everyone can enjoy the university experience free from discrimination." Now, without drawing any firm conclusions here, you understand, because there's possible legal action afoot, That sounds rather self-contradictory to me, because if you are trying to ensure that everyone is enjoying the university experience free from discrimination, but in order to do that you need to discriminate against somebody, potentially, then that seems self-contradictory. Now, there are of course boundaries and limits and a fringe to which you can take your rights, because it is a qualified right, it's not an absolute right, but that is what will be tested in court if this goes that far. They go on, due to an ongoing appeal, we are unable to comment further on the case. But that, as I say, illustrates very well the attack on free speech going on in this country, against which we must stand firm. Now, from the Telegraph, I'll link it rather than put it on screen, but in the Telegraph, I quote here that apparently Connie Shaw's social media feed was merely shown to her as if her gender-critical views were self-evidently probative of the case that the investigator was building against her, with the natural inference that the beliefs were capable of bringing the student radio into disrepute. In other words, they sat with her and said, "Look at this, we have you banged to rights, that's why you're being suspended." Now, given what I've said about the law, which is clear, having and expressing those critical views and beliefs is a protected philosophical belief under the Equality Act. So unless she goes beyond the bounds of what is reasonable, which you are, remember, as I've said in previous videos, you are allowed to express yourself in robust ways. And unless that manifestation of those beliefs and views manifests in such a way that amounts to conduct that is oppressive and unacceptable, which is a fairly high threshold to reach, then that is typically the threshold we use for cases of harassment, for example. Unless it reaches that threshold, it is not going outside of the bounds of expressing yourself in accordance with your Article 10 rights to the freedom of expression. So as I say, Free Speech Union has now written to Leeds University warning them of possible legal action, and we'll see what happens. So in the meantime, please do support them. Please do support me here by subscribing. We will fight for your freedom of speech and your rights in general. And so with that, if I don't see you again today, have a nice weekend, and I'll see you in the next one.